Near the end of the relationship, when our relationship was in crisis and he actually performed a massive master manipulation towards my family to turn them against me, I begged him to go to couples counseling. And it was in the couples counseling sessions where I actually learned that what I was experiencing was psychological abuse. The couples therapist pulled me aside one day and she said to me, "You need to find a different path. You need to get out of this relationship. This is not healthy." Now, I definitely was not an expert at that time, but I thought it was significant that the couples therapist was telling me that my relationship was so unhealthy that I had to leave. And that was the wake-up call that I absolutely needed to be able to take a step back and look at what was happening. Despite other people having pointed out things to me over time of his behavior and how it wasn't acceptable. And so I began my healing process in participating in regular psychotherapy that was trauma-focused. And that is how I learned to understand that I had been a victim of psychological and narcissistic abuse. I began to work on my self-worth again. I engaged in activities that I used to love, but had long since been forgotten because my interests took a backseat to the needs and interests of my partner. I also decided to shake things up completely and move to a developing country by myself, where I stayed for the next 2 years. And that is actually where I did a majority of my healing work, in submersing myself in a new culture and in the welcoming nature of that community. I became involved in volunteer work and humanitarian aid work, and I rebuilt myself slowly over time. The key factors for me were participating in trauma-focused therapy, mindfulness practices, lots of self-care, and putting my needs finally first ahead of other people. As a result of the healing and growth work that I did, I decided to go back to school to get my master's in psychology. I left my previous career in teaching and I began working as a registered psychotherapist, and I specialized in trauma assessment and treatment. So now my entire work is dedicated to working with other survivors of trauma, other survivors who have been through abusive relationships, and helping them to find their path to healing, just as I did. I am so grateful for the experience that I had and for the growth work that I did, because it led me to ultimately discovering my true path and my passion. And I am so grateful that I am now able to provide support and services to other people who are suffering as I did.